Yitzhak ben David and his son. I don't know if his son is going to come on board or not today. What's with Enoch?
I haven't heard this morning. I'm not sure. I was looking forward to seeing him myself. He drove back to school, and he's looking forward to joining. I can give him a call if I hang up here temporarily and just remind him.
Whatever you want.
Okay, just a moment.
Yeah, you can hang up and call back in.
Is the Word document the same as the other attachments?
Now I do.
And no, there's 2 JPEGs that are the Chumash that we're going to be using.
Okay.
That I wouldn't print out. If you can, I don't know if you can use that or use your own Chumash on another screen.
Okay.
But the other has about 17 sources that were there. You can also find all of them in the Tanakh.
Yeah.
So you don't need to print them out, but if you have them available, you don't have to flip pages.
Yours doesn't work.
Okay.
Okay, Terrence, I hear you.
Good morning, everybody. Blessings.
Good morning,
Glad to be
blessings.
with you guys.
Great. It's been a long week.
Yeah.
So is Heather on board too?
Yes, she is. Here she's
hello.
sitting.
Can you hear me?
Okay, we don't. I don't have pictures. I hear you, but I don't have anybody's picture.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Here we go. I'm gonna enable it. There we go. Hi, guys.
Yours is important, Terrence, because you're recording it. So Frank, are you there still, Frank?
Yeah.
Okay, look, we don't need your picture if it's too hard to work out.
I just can't see that you're on Skype. I'm on Skype.
We're on
now,
Skype, but we're going to be recording this.
Oh, I
Is that
see.
okay?
Hebrew Studies. Okay, now we're coming up. Okay. Let's see. How do I join the call? Okay. I was on my
But
phone.
you're on the call. But you need to use headphones.
Oh. Okay.
You have headphones?
Yeah.
Wow.
So is this the time of day? Is this the time of the week you usually do it? Or?
We have been doing this for like a month now. Wednesday afternoons at 4 p.m. Israel time. These other people, these other holy souls, are in they're off the coast of Hawaii. They're somewhere on the west coast of the United States of America in a little state called Washington.
Oh, yeah. Where in Washington?
Yeah, you got your headphones on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wenatchee?
Hi, Frank.
Am I saying it right?
Yes, Wenatchee.
Yeah.
It's we're east of Seattle by about 120 miles or so, across the Cascade Mountain Range.
Okay.
Beautiful, God's country over here.
Yeah, I grew up in Bremerton.
All right. Are you in Israel now?
Yeah.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. I heard an echo. I heard an echo. Maybe my headset is not the right headset.
Frank, you got to have a headset or we're going to hear it echo the whole time, or you're going to have to mute yourself out and just listen.
Okay, I can do that too. I'll try a different headset.
Okay, it's Yitzhak ben David. He's blinking, but I don't know what that means, if he's trying to get on or he's on.
I'm on audibly. Let's see. I'm not sure if I have enough internet here to do video, but we'll give it a shot. Good morning, everyone.
All right.
Good to see you, Terrence, Heather.
Looking
How are you?
good. Look at you.
Great.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay. All right.
Excellent. Good to hear your voice again, Frank.
Yeah, yours too.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you guys are you guys having a heat wave? Whoops, it still sounds bad.
Yeah, we had about 104 yesterday, and there's forest fires coming from Canada that are covering the whole state. Actually, two
Yeah,
states,
I heard
Washington and Idaho, all the way down to California.
that. Wow.
So we're trying to stay in clean air and indoors as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we thank God for giving us the opportunity to once again connect up and learn.
Yeah.
If you want to open up your Chumash, we're in Parshas Eikev, and it starts with chapter 7, verse 12. V'hoya Eikev tishma'un et hamishpatim ha'ela. And now, many different translations. The one I gave you, it says, this shall be the reward when you hearken to these ordinances. But the truth is, the word Eikev, we're going to be dealing with many different levels of its translation or understanding. So for those that got my sheets, it says
Same
this
root as
shall,
Yaakov. Huh.
that's the root, right? Eikev means the heel, just like Yaakov was named Yaakov because he held on to the heel of his older brother by 1 second, Esav. He held on to Esav's heel, so he's called Yaakov. So that's the root of the word for sure, heel. Not Jacob, but heel. But what does it mean? Like, what does it mean? And you'll see the layers and layers of meanings here, understandings and depth. So all we have so far, we're going to leave it untranslated. My book says it will be because of your listening to these ordinances. The other one I sent you says this shall be the reward when you hearken, when you listen to these ordinances. And what do? You observe and perform them. Ushmartem v'asitem otam. Then what's the result? V'shamar Hashem Elokecha lecha. God, the Lord, will guard yours. He will safeguard for you. We're going to see that word is singular, lecha. Et habris asher ve'esa chesed, the covenant and the kindness asher nishba'at levotecha, which he swore to your forefathers. Okay, so before we really begin, I just want to give you an idea of where we're going to go with this. And when we go with that in a certain direction, of course, we're going to back it up with proofs and stories. You know, they'll make a difference in our lives and how we live our lives and how we view the world. So I also underlined some of the previous verses because we are going to delve into some of them because that will help us understand this verse. So the first thing I wanted you to look at was Rashi. And I printed that off. I made it on the source sheet, source number 1. Mm-hmm. And it will be if you heed. Now, again, the word to listen, tishma'un, is understood. But what's Eikev? So here it says because, right? It will be because you listened. The other way of understanding it is as a reward for listening. But what does Rashi say? Rashi says that Im ha-mitzvot hakalot she'adam dash ba'akvav, if the mitzvahs that you consider to be light, that could be defined what that means. Usually it could mean the punishment is very light in respect to a more stricter punishment. So maybe that's how you judge what's considered a light mitzvah. But he's going to say basically whatever is considered light, however we're going to define that, people trample with their heels on it. Adam dash ba'akvav. And this verse is coming to warn you, even though the inclination for whatever is considered light in your eyes is to take it lightly, don't. Take it seriously, and you should listen to them.
Throughout the Torah portion, you can see a ton of if-then statements. And so these seemingly lightly regarded mitzvot, if we trample them under our feet, you lose the blessing. But if you will hold fast to them, and if you will revere them, even if you don't understand them, or even if you think they're simple and light, Amazing blessings. You see a lot of if-then statements throughout this whole Eikev parsha.
I think you hit it. You always do this. You steal.
I'm sorry.
Steal the show. No, it's great. You have such an understanding for where we're going with this. I mean, just basically summed up the whole class. But I'm serious. We're going to break it down so we really internalize it, understand it. You mentioned some key points here, and that would be that if you take them lightly, you end up treading on them, and you don't take them, seriously. Well, yeah, there's a punishment versus a reward for keeping them, and it's a very serious statement. So we're going to get a little bit into the nitty-gritty. What?
The aspect of the heel. If you don't trample underneath them, then there is a reward. You don't take them lightly and walk over them, so to speak.
Right. So how are we going to do that? How are we really going to internalize this lesson? So the first thing we should understand is that the word Eikev appears many places, and we already mentioned there's different meanings. It could mean reward, could mean because of. It could mean the heel. Whatever that heel represents, the mitzvahs that you take lightly. So the first thing we should point out, if you look at source number 2, in Genesis 26:5, the verse says, because Abraham, everyone translates it as because Abraham. Eikev asher shma Avraham b'koli, because Avraham listened to my voice. Not just my voice, and he's v'yishmar mishmarti mitzvotai hukotai v'toratai. He observed my commandments, my safeguards, my commandments, my decrees, and my Torahs. Okay, so Rashi obviously didn't go with that shot, with that understanding. And again, so we're going to push that aside for sure. But what was bothering Rashi? So if you look at the verse before, okay, it's in we're in chapter 7, but we started with 12. That's where the parsha begins. But look at 11. You shall observe the commandment and the decrees and the ordinances that I command you today to perform them. So in Hebrew, Vishamarta et mitzvah, that's the mitzvah in general, and then it's broken down into ve'et chukim, which are the decrees, ve'et mishpatim, those are the, let's just describe what chukim and mishpatim are. Chukim, I know this is, Terrence was really bothered by, he sent me an email, asked me to describe these things, and I said, let's just start learning, it's going to come up, a million times. Chukim are laws that God gave us, whose reason or the reason behind them is either not known or obscure, and may not have any physical or emotional benefit in this world. Okay? Whereas the mishpatim are, if I asked you, you're God, you're gonna role play, you're gonna start a new government, you want to bring the kingdom of some kind of utopian society to the world. So you're gonna write a bunch of mishpatim. Those mishpatim, those are laws that anybody with common sense will make up for the betterment of society. For maintaining, don't steal, don't murder, don't run through a red light, don't take someone else's wife. Can you imagine if those laws weren't in place? It would be chaos. So, you pay taxes, there's going to be a fine for lateness, things that make sense for encouragement to follow the laws and make a civil society. And what's the result? The truth is that these mishpatim, you do get not just a benefit, you feel that there's something productive about a mishpat, that it's maintaining society and it's moving society forward in a very progressive way. Whereas the chukim, I'll give you a few examples. I mean, it's don't mix wool and linen together. I mean, how does that help me? You know what I mean? How does that make me a better person? Yeah.
If we had the understanding of Hashem, we would see that all of these hukim actually do have benefit for our health, for our wellness, for our spiritual growth. It's just that they defy human reasoning at the point that we're at today. But if we can, by faith, observe those hukim, just like we're talking about, if-then statements today, there is a benefit in each one of them. As I've meditated on many of these hukim, and people wonder, just like the red heifer, why do the ashes of the red heifer purify? There's so many other examples of hukim, but we understand there is a benefit, but it's more of an unseen in this physical realm.
That's it. That's key. In other words, what's with mishpatim? That it's revealed, that it's obvious. Whereas the chukim, let's take kashrus law. So it's true that in many cases the laws dealing with eating kosher are beneficial to you physically, but not necessarily. That's not necessarily the reason, and we shouldn't hang them on that, as many unfortunate unaffiliated Jews have done, and they have said, well, pork used to be problematic, but maybe it's not so problematic anymore, whatever. They justify different laws of kashrut to say, well, that was then. Now we have refrigeration, or now we have, antibiotics, or who knows what, and they can justify and say, I don't see the benefit of not eating these things, because it's not so revealed. There's something more spiritual of nature, and it's not a physical pleasure or a physical benefit that is so obvious, as you said. So it's not obvious. Of course, from Hashem's eyes, it's.
So hukim is English is decree. Is that what you're saying?
Or
I'm just turning my volume up.
It would be something that is a mitzvot, but you don't understand the reason behind it.
I'm asking about the English word.
I put it in yellow box.
Decree.
I tried to even things out with different colors to show you with the ease, make it easier on your eyes. I don't know, maybe it's different.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
So it says ve'et hachukim in the Hebrew, and in the English it says and the decrees, right? And whereas the ordinances, I mean, these are English words and they don't really mean a whole lot. You get into the Hebrew, people translate it a different way, as we already saw by the word Eikev. Could mean reward, it could mean the trampling on. But what he's going to go to? He's going to show you that the word in Hebrew, Eikev, is it's a symbolic word, not just symbolic. It actually means chukim. Why? Because when you look in that previous verse, it says eta chukim ve'eta mishpatim, and in our verse, in other words, you have to observe both the chukim and the mishpatim, the decrees and the ordinances. In our verse, it says v'haya eikev. Now replace the word eikev with chukim. And it will be the chukim that you shall listen to, and the mishpatim. Now, I know it doesn't say and the mishpatim, and that's why we're going to deal with the next word I have in a blue box called tu or et. Okay? The word et, aleph taf, is one of those words that are not really translatable. It could mean and, it could mean with, it could mean the. Okay, it all has to do with the context, or as we're concerned, the oral Torah. So now we're going to read it like this. And it shall be the chukim, these decrees, that what? That you don't really have an obvious reason to keep it, obviously other than that God commanded you to, but you don't have a physical benefit at the moment for keeping it. Am I getting that too? Is it just me?
No, I hear it.
Okay, Frank, we need you to, what's the word? Keep the, I don't know, we had a lot of background noise. I think you were moving your microphone.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So we're saying that the chukim that you should listen to.
I just plugged the microphone in. Maybe that's what happened.
Oh, cool, that's great. Should be done with the mishpatim. They should be done with them. Now, what does that mean? Because if we're going to translate the word et as with, because I said the word et has many different meanings, we're going to see there's a, we're going to call it like a tzad shava shebehem. Something that is good for this is going to actually apply to here, and something that applies to here will apply to there. Meaning, there's going to be something about the chukim that are unique about Chukim, but should apply to the Mishpatim, and something unique about the Mishpatim that it should apply, not just apply, that in your eyes, the way you view them, you should view them on the same level. And we'll discuss that. I'm sure you got the guys around that.
Oh no.
I think that's Frank's feedback. If he can put mute, Frank,
Yeah, I've had it on mute.
just go ahead and click mute on the screen. It's at the bottom of the screen,
I did.
but we can still hear you. If you click mute, we won't be able to hear you. Hot mic.
Microphone muted, it says.
You have to do it on your screen, not just on the mic.
No, I did it on the screen.
Frank, why don't I just suggest you stick your headphones back into the hole, and maybe we'll get rid of this background noise.
Okay.
There we go.
Stop.
Thank you. All right. So
Hey,
let's go on.
Aaron,
Okay. Yeah.
Frank was asking about the English word. The first 8 verses of Psalm 119, David lays out, like he says it multiple ways. The different. Blessed are those who are blameless, who walk according to the law of the Lord. Blessed are those who keep his statutes and seek him with their whole heart. They do no wrong, but follow his ways. You have laid down precepts that are to be fully obeyed. Oh, that my ways were steadfast in obeying your decrees. Then I would not be put to shame when I consider all your commands. I will praise you with an upright heart as I learn your righteous laws. I will obey your decrees. Do not utterly forsake me. Beautiful. But anyways, I just say that because that's where I was coming from when I asked. I mean, when an English-speaking person reads that, they're like, "What is all this?" So this is a beautiful teaching.
Right. And you have it here. You have it.
And the Mitzvot.
So basically, what we're saying at this point, I just want to make sure we're. When you look at that previous verse, verse 11, in comparison to number 12, which is our verse we're really dealing with, we have to ask the question: why is it mentioned in that verse, Chukim, and in our verse, Chukim is missing? And as a replacement, the language of Eikev is used. So what we're going to conclude, and we're going to prove it, is that the word Eikev actually is a replacement. It actually means Chukim. It actually means these decrees that we're talking about. And how is it hinted? Okay, how is it hinted in the word? So the word Eikev, the language, the word Eikev, why is it called that? Since I'm just reading, I'm telling you what the Kli Yakar explains to us. He uses a language that the Satan, which is the adversary, and the nations, they're grouped together, okay? They mock us regarding them because the reasons are not known. And it's for this reason that man gives into, could be peer pressure or just collective pressure from society, non-Jewish society, or people who are around that are mocking. It's for this reason that people become accustomed to think of them and take them lightly. And when you take them lightly, they trample on them with their heels. Okay, so it all stems back to the fact that their reasons are not either well-known or not known, let's say hidden. And these are the types of things that the Satan or the nations of the world would mock the Jews about. And this is the very reason that Rashi says, and those are the words of Rashi, just read them again. If the relatively light commandments that a person tramples on with his heels, if that's the case, these are specifically the ones you need to pay a little bit more attention to. These are the things you should surely listen to. And then he says, this is what is, he was specifically mentioned the language of Eikev and not the language of Chukim. In other words, in verse 11, it specifically says Chukim, but now it doesn't, and it's using the word Eikev to actually teach us something, to tell you what, that these Chukim, I don't want to translate Chukim every time, these decrees, the Chukim that you're being warned about above, the Chukim that we were just talking about in verse 11, now remember, we're in verse 12, but God's telling you the Chukim that I just warned you about in the previous verse, those people are likely to take lightly and tread with their heels. And why? As a result, they will not likely be diligent or careful. So basically, it's the mishpatim that people do take more carefully because their tolatam, their benefit, is actually known and revealed. That which is known and revealed psychologically, people take more seriously. You know that if you go through a red light, you're going to get killed, or God forbid, hurt somebody else, one or the other, or get a $500 ticket. I mean, it's just not worth it. But to wear wool and linen, how's that hurting me? How is that affecting the world? I don't get it. So, someone buys me a new suit, I might be lenient and not take it to get checked. We check all our clothing. When we buy expensive new clothing, then it's not 100% one or the other type of material. It's a mixture. So we don't want to violate that chok. That's why God is saying, it's why it's saying also the chukim that is actually hinted out in the word Eikev meaning trampling, your foot, your heel, because even though people trampled on them with their feet, nevertheless, the lesson is to be careful in them just like you would do with the mishpatim, just like you would do with the revealed, known, common sense laws. Now, we said that the word et in verse 12, I put in a blue box, actually means with. We're going to translate that word as with. I know that in the English section doesn't have it, but again, it shall be when you really listen to the chukim with the mishpatim, with the ordinances. That's how we're going to understand the Hebrew speaking to us. Because the word et means with in many places throughout the Tanakh. And if you understand it as with, then we understand that you have to be concerned with one with the other, one with the other. So here's what it's really saying. That you should listen to the decrees, the chukim, with the mishpatim, with them, with the ordinances. And these two types, they're two different types, these two types of mitzvahs, they should be equal in your eyes in every respect or every aspect. Just like you are very careful in the ordinances, in the mishpatim, so too, this is what the verse is telling you. You should be as careful, just as careful with the decrees. Now, as a proof for our words, we're going to look, I believe this would be the third source on the page. This is King David in Psalms 49:6. He says, Lama eira b'mei ra. Why should I fear in the days of misfortune? Right? When things are bad, things are happening that are not so pleasant, I'll tell you why I should fear. The iniquity of my heels surround me. Avon akevai yisuveni. Because the sins that I trampled with my heels surround me. This is what David is afraid of. When I go to the day of judgment, this is what I'm going to be afraid of. When I'm concerned about bad things happening, I have to make, in Hebrew, cheshbon nefesh, an accounting of my soul. Where did I trip up? What did I do wrong? I better look at those light sins that I trampled on. Look at the words. The iniquity of my heels surround me. Avon ekevai yisuveni. See the word ekev? It's the sins that I trampled with my heels. They're all around me. I mean, I really, I have too many to count. So this is all part of a medrash. Okay, the medrash goes on for about 6 or 7 lines. So bear with me. This is how it began, and it goes on and says that basically David. This is what David said. This is what David is saying. That I am afraid. I am not afraid from the strict or the, in Hebrew, chamurot, the either strict or heavy laws. Why? Because they're heavy, because they're strict. I'm not going to go around and do these major sins. Everybody knows you don't eat on Yom Kippur. You don't do certain things. You don't drive on Shabbat. You don't do these things. But you know what? I'm afraid of the light sins. Those sins that, double park for 2 minutes. What's the big deal? You'll be right out. Oh, parking in front of a fire hydrant for a second. What's the big deal? I mean, there's not going to be a fire right now. Whatever. I'm just thinking of ideas that, we come up with to justify things that are light. That those are the ones I should be afraid of, because those are the ones that maybe I will transgress or have transgressed. I'm going to go to the Yom Adin. I'm going to go to the Day of Judgment. And what am I going to face? I'm going to be facing, nobody's going to accuse me of worshiping idols, but they might accuse me of I might be accused of a much later sin because I probably did that later sin. So King David's then continuing to say to God, he actually says to God in this medrash, you warned me. You have a zohar mitzvos kala kibechamora. You told us that we should be careful in the light sins like the strict sins. And as a result, the Midrash says, where do we know this from? From this very verse. V'hoya Eikev tishmaon. And then, wait till you hear this, David says to God, this would be source number 4. He says, also your servant was careful with them, for in observing them there is great rewards. This is Psalms 19:12. Gam avdecha nizhar behem. Also your servant was very careful in them. Look at the Hebrew. Bishamram.
Yeah, that's a good example of using Eikev for reward.
Eikev Rav. But think about that layers here. The greatest reward is keeping those mitzvahs that are likely to be trampled upon and held lightly or in low esteem. It's like it's a sandwich. It's a beautiful layer upon layer put together. But it didn't end there. Wait till you hear the next verse. In verse 5, in source 5, that's Psalms 31:20. It says, "How great is your goodness, that you've laid away for those who fear you," meaning God is so great, he's going to give us such good stuff, and he put it away, he put that great reward away for the righteous, those who feared you, that you have worked for those who take refuge in you. Ready for this? In the presence of the sons of man. Neged b'nei Adam. Neged, here we're saying it means in the presence of. But neged means opposed to, like a woman a wife is a ezer kenegdo. She's your help mate. She's your help opposed. She's helping you, but she's your opposition. Okay, there's got to be some friction there. So neged means to go against, in the presence of the sons of man, but really it means against what other people think are normal. You're going to go ahead and not wear shatnez? Huh? Go ahead.
Because they are looking for the immediate gratification, the immediate reward. And there's an old midrash that the Jews asked Rabbeinu Moshe that, when will we receive this great reward that Hashem has promised us? And he said, in the age to come, or in the age of Mashiach, in the later, much later, after in the new world or in the kingdom. And there's an interesting story that goes along with that, with Rabbi Pincus and and some merchants coming into the town that he lived in and leaving some kernels of wheat. And they went away for a couple years, and he decided to take the mitzvot to the next level, not only to take care of them for them, but to plant them and multiply them for them. So when they came back and asked for their wheat, he took them to the storehouses and he said, all of this is your wheat. And it's likened to Hashem. The reward that we see now is just nothing compared to how he's multiplying the reward for us in the age to come.
Beautiful. But the Medrash, all it brings down was those three words, Ma Rav Tuvcha, how abundant is your goodness. And the Medrash says this is the reward for keeping those light mitzvahs. And that's the end of the Medrash. But one of the things that the Kliyakar asks is, look, he says, I examine the entire Tanakh, specifically the 5 books of Moses. I examined them. And I never found anywhere there's a verse that implies, it says outright, specifically outright, that what? That one should be careful in the light mitzvahs like the strict ones. And yet, David says in the Medrash, but you said, be careful in these mitzvahs that are light, just like the strict ones. And the connection was our verse. You should be, again, Eikev Tishma'un. You should listen to the Chukim. But it doesn't say Chukim, it says Eikev. So he also wants to know what the verse means when it says Rav Tuvcha, your abundant goodness. How is that connected to the reward for keeping the light mitzvahs? So he asked some good questions, and he wants to say that certainly what was bothering the author of the Medrash, what really, moved him to come and say this, and that is our verse that says, Haya Eikev Tishmun et Mishpatim. It should be because of, or you will be rewarded if you surely listen to these Mishpatim. But he says, why is the word Chukim not mentioned specifically in this verse? I mean, if you really want to get that message across, you put it in, right? But it's missing. And furthermore, even the word Eikev, if that word Eikev hints to these light mitzvahs, so then it should have said, see where I have the block? It's in verse 12, it says to, but in Hebrew it says et. He claims that if you're telling me that the word Eikev means chukim, it should say va'et. In other words, read it like, and it shall be these chukim that you listen to, and the mishpatim. So why doesn't it say va'et? If you look up, right where it's in yellow block, it says va'et chukim, va'et mishpatim. So you see that it va'et, you need the vav as a mechubar. A vav connects to what was said previously. When you connect it, so that
there is a vav at the beginning of the verse. The vahai.
No, vahaya. But there's no vav by the word et. So you basically have, let's say, those 3 words, vahaya. So you know what the vav there does? That vav turns the past tense into future.
And the words before it, the hukim and the mishpatim in verse 11, isn't it connecting the 2 verses together?
I love you, but it doesn't. In fact, you see those. You see, there's a space. It says pay. It's like you hit. You don't just hit the enter sign, but you hit the enter. It's like, and you crank it back. It's a totally different paragraph. When I say totally different paragraph, it's not a vav hamachaber. The vav in this word v'hoya, the word haya is past tense. The vav is a vav afuch. The vav actually turns past tense to future tense, and future tense to past tense. And it's a very important thing. You only find this in biblical Hebrew. Okay? When the vav is attached to a verb, it changes its tense. So hoya is past, v'hoya, and it will be. Okay, so that's what that vav's doing there. It will be that you shall listen to the chukim. And it doesn't say and the mishpatim. It says et the mishpatim. He wants to say, see, it really means im, with. And that's where he's going to go now, I believe. Let's just get back into the place I was. Okay. So yeah, he says, see, the word et does not connect to what was before. What was before was the chukim. So that's why he wants to say that the word Eikev certainly has to have meaning to it on its own. Since you don't have the vav hamachuber, the vav is not of the word et, which is in light blue, is not connecting it to the previous. There's a disconnect. Therefore, there's got to be a meaning in those first three words alone. Those first three words have, it's like almost like a full sentence. Haya Eikev tishmoon. You shall listen to these chukim. Okay, that's like a strength on his part by saying that. So basically what he's saying again is those mitzvahs that are light in your eyes. To whom? To the masses. To the masses. And that word et is, again, like the word with. So this is now how to read it. He's going to now explain one more time. It's almost like it's just repetitive, but for the sake of really drilling it in. That one should be careful in the light mitzvahs like the strict mitzvahs, because had it not been, because basically what you're doing is you're hanging the chukim on the mishpatim. You're actually taking them and applying them to the mishpatim, in that you shall listen to the chukim with the mishpatim, and they should be equal in your eyes in every respect. You're taking them and you're putting them on the level of the mishpatim. Whatever the chukim are, you should apply whatever will and in Hebrew ratzon and kavana, intent, just like you have for the mishpatim. And now he says that's why when we quoted the verse in number 5, I gave you the source sheets, number 5, where it says neged b'nei adam, right, in the presence of man.
No, they're not.
Is that Frank? I think someone came to his door. How great is your goodness, but look at the end, in the presence of man. Why is that important in this verse? Why you have so much reward because something happened in the presence of man, but not, remember, I don't like the word in the presence of man, but rather neged, against men, because when one fulfills these chukim, one actually fulfills those precepts that we call decrees. It's something that goes against the masses. It's something that goes against, logic. It goes against society, which it goes against the majority of society, because most of society will mock us for keeping them because they make no sense. And that's why, I just want to see where the next, look at the word again, that you have laid away, tzafanta lireyacha. You hid away or stored away for those who fear you, okay? Because, like you said several times already, Yitzhak, there's no real reward in this world. You're not getting any physical or emotional benefit from fulfilling these, but all the benefit, all the reward is laid and stored away for you in the world to come. There are mitzvahs where you find some benefit in this world, and thank God, most of the benefit will come later on through the reward. But still, there's no benefit, there's no,
You know what's amazing? It's likened to somebody taking a loan from you. Hashem's not paying you now or repaying you or rewarding you. And what happens when we repay somebody after a long period of time? It comes with interest. And he's multiplying the reward for the world to come. So it's something we should really be thankful for and don't care about the immediate gratification. Trust him. If we really trust Hashem, the reward is much greater than we can even imagine, because there's things in the spiritual world that are going to be implemented that we can receive it even better in the world to come than what we could even receive the reward now. Very exciting, just trusting Hashem. Did Rabbi...
Yeah.
So obviously, when it is done, it can be done. First of all, Jews lending to non-Jews, They are allowed to charge interest. I just have to decline this call. I don't know what happened here.
That's why you froze up. Sometimes that does that when you get a call.
It won't go up. So basically, where was I at? When it comes to interest, so you could make a business partnership with somebody, and that allows, it's not called interest, it's sharing the profits. So there are, I'm not even calling it a loophole, because it's not trying to get around. Okay, there are ways, halachically, to give a loan. Then it's not a loan anymore, but it's a partnership, a business partnership, where you share the interest with the other person. And that is called a heter iska. In other words, it's permissible to enter a business relationship with them. And it certainly appears to be interest, and that's why you go through the process of making this document. In the banks in Israel, they're hung on the wall. Of course, they charge interest, or we call it interest, but they claim it's not. They're your partner. They're the senior partner.
Controlling interest.
But yeah, the analogy was right on, as always. Okay, so we were discussing this idea that when it comes to the chukim, the reward you're not going to see in this world, and you're only going to see in the world to come, because in this world there is no, I'm going to say in Hebrew, to'elit shalehem nigla. There's no obvious advantage or benefit that's obvious, that's known. But as opposed to mishpatim, as opposed to the other types of call them ordinances, where their benefit is known. So basically, someone who fulfills those chukim, God will store away. He'll cause this refuge. He'll store away, and not deprive you later on of your reward. Exactly how you mentioned it. But he says in that verse, "Pa'alta lechosim bach neged b'nei adam." But you have worked for those who take refuge in you, or you have performed for those who seek refuge in you. And that's why it says, that's what it means when it says, Shehem chosim bach, that they were saved in you for that which was keneged, opposed to the rest of the world, who were mocking you. And that's why when we said the verse, number 4, in source 4, also your servant was careful with them, for in observing them there's a Eikev, there's a great reward. Getting back to this idea of the great reward, so even in that word, even in that verse it says nizhar, the third word, it says nizhar, careful. I just want you to focus on that word a second. That word, the root, is based on the word zohar. Zohar means a shining, a clarification, a clarity, a brightness, okay? Because your servant was so clear, like a shining light in them, there will be a reward waiting for the righteous in the world to come. I'm just reading, through keeping and guarding the chukim, which is hinted at in the word Eikev. So anyone who's enlightened, I use the word spiritually enlightened, will shine like a star in heaven in the world to come. I'll say in Hebrew, Yazhiru bezkazohar harakia le'olam haba. His future, world to come, will shine so brightly. I mean, that's that's the great reward that David HaMelech is talking about. It all comes together.
A living Torah.
Well, this is unfortunately, we're talking about after 120 years after we die, because Olam Haba was different opinions of it, but let's assume it's after this lifetime of 120 years. Terrence, how are we doing? Any questions?
I love it. That's what I love about Torah, Rabbi Aaron, is it demonstrates the importance of these themes. We just went over Parshas Hukas a month ago or whatever, and now here we are reiterating its importance. So it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And now, what is in our first verse? I underlined it, I think, in like a gray. And when I say our first verse, I'm talking about verse 12, right? After you're taking these things more seriously, so then God will safeguard for you the covenant. What is this covenant? He's going to Shomer Hashem Elokecha Lecha et Habrit. He's going to guard for you the covenant. And what do we understand? That He's going to guard for you the what? Your reward. He's going to keep your reward. He's going to guard for you the reward that's coming to you in the world to come. Okay, and we're going to go on a little bit more, but we're still dealing with the same theme. So after we got done saying that one should equate the chukim with the mishpatim, there are going to be two angles, two perspectives that one should examine this from. First, as we already said, regarding, let's say, the word zrizus. Zrizus means with fervor and alacrity, like fervor and passion. So just like you should be passionate and fervorous about doing the mishpatim because they make sense. So basically from that aspect, in your eye, in which you normally do see with your own eyes the benefit, so too you should be nazir. You should be very clear and careful about the chukim which are hinted at by the word Eikev. Now on the other side, just like the chukim which have no physical or momentary benefit, it's only the world to come, nevertheless, certainly you fulfill them just for the sake of heaven without any physical pleasure or benefit, because you wouldn't even know what benefit there is, right? You don't feel it, even for a moment in this world. This is how you should actually do the mishpatim. The mishpatim don't fulfill for your own benefit just because it's good for you, but do it because God commanded you to do it, just like the chukim. You do the chukim l'shem shamayim. When I say l'shem shamayim, it's for the sake of God and not for your sake. So too the mishpatim, which make a whole hell of a lot of sense. It's true. But the highest level of doing them is the level of doing them for the sake of, because God told you. You come to a red light, I'm saving so many lives right now. God told me to do it. I know that. I know I'm saving lives, but even greater, I'm listening to God's will. I'd like to go through it. I see there's no cars coming. I could just go through. There's no cops. There's no cameras. I'm going to do it because God told me, I'm just using it as an example. I mean, it applies to Torah law. I lost my place again. I keep doing that.
There's
Okay.
Frank. Good to see you, Frank. You got your video on.
Oh, I don't see him.
Welcome.
You see him?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, Frank.
Okay.
Hi.
I don't see it, Frank, but I trust you there because they all see you. I'm sure you're looking at.
It's a handsome.
What do I
man.
have to do to get it? Push the button? No, I don't know. Okay. Anyway, so we're going to go on a little bit. So now we get into that verse. I think this is going to be the sixth source. The sixth source was, we're talking about like bringing this idea home. Listen to this in source 6. This is in Psalms 119. There's two verses, 101 and 102. From every evil way I restrained my feet. Mikol orach ra kaliti raglai. From every evil path I restrained my feet. Lama'an eshmur darchecha. In order that I keep your word or your precepts. So the way the Kliyakar wants to understand Devarecha, your word, is actually also understanding that that's referring to the Chukim, as you have a comma, and the next verse says, however, from your judgments I did not turn away. Mishpatecha lo sarti ki atah toreitani, because you have taught me. So what does he want to drill home here? He wants to remember the word raglai. See, the word raglai means my feet. Again, even though it doesn't have heel, but the evil way I stopped, I prevented myself from trampling. To do what? To keep your word. And then on the other hand, your judgments, the ones that made sense, I didn't turn away from. Because you guided me, you taught me. Torah Yutani. So what he wants to say is just like the chukim, this is David HaMelech, just like the chukim that I fulfill, certainly I only had intention, my intention was only Laman Eshmur Chukecha, or Devarecha, was in order to guard your word. The chukim, what is a chok? From the word engrave. A chok, even though we're translating it as a ordinance, not an ordinance, a decree, it actually, lechachek, is to engrave. That you have engraved for me, you like embedded in me. So too, from your mishpatecha, I didn't turn away. Why didn't I turn away? Not on account of the benefits that I would feel, but only because of the Torah that you taught me. The Torah you taught me is this Torah right here. When we read this verse at the end, you guided me in the Parshas Eikev, right? And that's what Chazal say. Okay, here's an idea, Bakashus, that a man should not say, let's say a pepperoni pizza comes his way, he's, I don't know, walking down the street, and you ever go past that restaurant, open on Friday night, you're coming home from shul, and they got the bacon cheeseburgers or whatever they got the pizza, pepperoni pizza, and it's like wafting right in your face, and it just smells so good. You shouldn't say, "Ich, God doesn't want me to eat it, so it must be bad." No, it must be probably delicious, but I can't eat it because God told me. Don't turn it around and try to lie to yourself.
That's right.
God told you, you got to follow it. You get more credit, you know. If you think it's disgusting, and somebody gives you a bunch of minced cockroaches with chocolate-covered sprinkles on it, and says, you know, you're disgusted by it, so you don't get any. What kind of credit you're going to get? So God told you not to eat the cockroaches. I'm sure they taste very good. I just, God told me not to.
We had a true test of that, Aaron. We had an Erev Shabbat, and we opened it up to the community, both newcomers and regular members, and everybody is kashrut, and they know what to bring. And we had a new person come, and wouldn't you know, he had brought a pizza full of sausage and pepperoni, and it was like the meat lovers, the pork special, and here it is. He brings it in. His first time at an Erev Shabbat, and we're holding it at a friend's home, and everybody has to walk by that pizza and say, that smells so good, but we choose not to eat it. It's like, why is nobody eating this pizza?
That pizza is squealing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was his introduction to kosher laws and kashrut, but everybody had to be honest. Yeah, it smells really good, but we're going to pass by. Thank you.
Right. Baruch Hashem. So then he just returns us back to think about what we just read at the end of... See, we only read verse 11. But if we go back, I think, to verse 10, we didn't get very far, did we? But we had... So we go back to verse 10, right? Verse 10, not 9, 10. And he repays his enemies in his lifetime to make him perish. He shall not delay for his enemy. In his lifetime, he shall repay him. So in Hebrew, Mishalem L'sonav El Panav Lahavido, right? He'll pay to his enemies to his face to destroy him. Lo Ye'acher L'sono. He won't delay to the one he hates. El Panav Yishalem. He's going to pay him to his face. But then it goes on. Now verse 11. V'shamart et ha-mitzvot es l'chukim v'es ha-mishpatim asher anochi mitzavach hayom la'asotam. Right? And you should guard the mitzvahs and the decrees and the ordinances which I have commanded you today to do. Now Rashi, I think I gave you Rashi. That would be number 7 on your pages. Rashi says, and he repays those who hate him to their face. In other words, during his lifetime. So we're talking about we're thinking about a Jew who doesn't really do the mitzvahs properly, right? So what's he going to do? He's going to get his reward in this lifetime. During his lifetime, he's going to get his reward in order to, I guess, extinguish or lose In other words, he'll get paid now and not later. What would you rather? Like you were talking about the interest earlier. I'd rather get the interest later, right? What do I want to benefit in this world and lose my world to come?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. So that's what Rashi says these words mean when it says, right, that that God is going to extinguish he repays those who hate him to their face. So there's going to be a question. Now this question is based on some later verses that we're going to be talking about non-Jews. Look at source 8 at the bottom. It says, "As the nations that the Lord destroys before you, so you will perish." Like, in other words, our destruction is somehow compared to or related to the way that God will destroy the nations. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. So there's a relationship. He wants to know, what is it? If the goy fulfills, a non-Jew fulfills a certain mitzvah,
Do you understand?
why is if a non-Jew fulfills a certain mitzvah, why is he considered a hater of God? As the nations that the Lord destroys before you, so you will perish, since you will not obey the Lord your God. Why? Because we're going to assume that the non-Jew, now we're not talking about a Ben Noach, okay? We're not talking about a Ben Noach, and we're not talking about a convert. We're talking about probably a Christian or a Muslim, or, again, they might believe in the world to come, might believe in God, so they might be Ben Noach. But we're talking about someone who's not a real believer, okay? When you use the term goy, we usually talk about a non-believer. So he does some kind of a mitzvah. Why is he considered a hater of God at the time he fulfills the mitzvah? Because, what is it about a non-Jew? Because when he fulfills the mitzvah, he's doing it from his seichel. Okay, I don't know if I discussed this idea with you about a Ben Noach. The Rambam says there are two types of Ben Noach. One is called the righteous amongst the righteous, the word Chasidei Umas Olam, the righteous amongst the Goyim, the Gentiles. He's like a Kohen Gadol. He's got it made in the shade. He gets the world to come just like a Jew does. Okay, you don't have to be Jewish to get into heaven. But there's another type of a Gentile. He, on his very own, like I asked you before, play God, make a utopian society, come up with laws. So you came up with all these mishpatim. So if a non-Jew comes up all on his own with these 7 Noachide laws, he does them all because he says they make sense. They're great. They maintain the world. If that's the reason he's doing it, he doesn't see the world to come, and he's considered a hater of God when he does mitzvahs. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So how do we get to this point? So we'll try to explain. Okay. To find my place. I get excited, I lose my place. So even at the time, since the Gentile, at the time that he fulfills a mitzvah, we're talking about one of the 613 mitzvahs, from his own seichel, from his own enlightened brain, he's not doing it except to get benefit in this world. Therefore, his judgment will be like someone who is doing it for now, but he's to receive the reward now in this world. He has no concept of the world to come. But you, the Jew, and the Ben Noach, who's a chassid, who's a pious person, and believe me, there can be plenty of Christians and Muslims that fit in that category. They're like you, the Jew. They're only doing it for the sake of God. So the non-Jew who doesn't believe in the world to come, he's not doing it for God. So now we read Uvishmartem. This is in verse 11 when it says, "You shall guard." Number 11, you shall observe, right? Because I am the Lord, which I command you. Sorry, I'm just going to make sure it's 11. Yeah, that I command you. Look at the verse in Hebrew. The last line in Hebrew. Asher nochi mitzavechai. I'm the one commanding you. That's why. Because I command you, you do them, everything's great. Okay? But if
Hayom, yeah,
you,
to observe them
so,
today in this
so back
world.
So now we were in verse 10, which says he repays his enemies in his lifetime to make him perish. We were talking about Jews who are not going to see the world to come. They're going to get their reward now, and he's not going to be delayed. He's going to receive it in his lifetime. Okay. Then, what is he really saying? Let's just go back. Because I command you, you shall guard them, not because of any benefit you're going to get. And then automatically, both the mishpatim and the chukim are going to be equal in your eyes, meaning equated in your eyes. And that's why when we understand what it says, v'hoya Eikev tishmaun et mishpatim. When it says in our verse, in verse 12, it shall be when you listen to the chukim, and or with the mishpatim, then certainly you will be fitting to receive the keren. The keren is the main prime or principal reward. You will reward that. You will receive that in the world to come, and Hashem will guard it for you. He is holding it for you there. Now, if you look at the end of our parsha later on, in chapter
11, verse
20, nations that the Lord destroys before you. I don't know, someone's calling me, I'm trying to cut it off. Okay. We say that the verse says, like the nations that Hashem causes to perish before you. Right? Kagoyim asher Hashem ma'abid mipneichem, Cain te'abedun, that they will surely perish. Eikev lo tishma'un b'kol Hashem elokeichem. So the word Eikev appears. Look in that, in other words, source number 8, the bottom line, the second verse. Look in the Hebrew. Eikev lo tishma'un. We see it right there. Remember, we were trying to figure it out. If you look on the sheets that I gave you, it's
I'm just reading from my watch.
on the sheets that I gave you. It says source number 8. It's Deuteronomy 8, verse 19 and 20. But I want you to look at verse 20. In Hebrew, right, as the nations that the Lord destroys before you, so will you perish. Since he translates it as since you will not obey the Lord your God. But look at the Hebrew. Eikev lo tishma'un b'kol Hashem elokeichem. Again, the word Eikev. Eikev, remember, Eikev means chukim, right? Or let's just say those mitzvahs that you don't really benefit from in this world. Those mitzvahs you're only going to get reward in the world to come. And that's why it's like Goyim. Like Goyim. That's what notice that was the original question. How is it like Goyim that will be destroyed if they keep a mitzvahs? Or why does God hate them if they keep mitzvahs? It's only because they're only doing it for fulfillment or self-fulfillment in this world. But when you're doing it for God, that's when you will see the reward in the world to come. But it sounds like this verse is entirely superfluous. Because we already mentioned, if you look in the verse before, look in again, source number 8, which is Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 19. It will be, if you forget the Lord your God, that's idol worship, okay? Forgetting God and following other gods and worshiping them and prostrating yourself before them, I bear witness against you this day, you will surely perish. And then the next verse says, just as the nations, they're going to perish as well. So why is there this superfluous or extra verse that is not necessary? Lama tala ibudum ibud. Why is there this hanging of the destruction or perishing again on the goyim? What's it have to do with the goyim? So certainly this verse is not connected at all with the one above. In other words, verse 18 and 19 are two separate verses. not connected, because the one above is strictly dealing with Jews who worship idols. Okay? And as a proof, because it says, you will surely forget the Lord your God. And it goes on and says, you worship these other gods and prostrate yourself before them. But when it says, ki abod ta'avdun, in the last part of that verse, it's a double language. That's why it says surely perish, because in Hebrew it's avod te'avedun. It's a double language. Surely perish. That's surely talking about avodah zarah. Sorry. That's talking about the person who serves idols. So he's going to be driven away from this world and the next world. That's why it's a double language. So the Jew who worships idols loses everything. He loses his portion in this world, and he loses his portion in the world to come. And then afterwards it says, Asher ibud acher she'eno ki'im min ha'olam haba levad. But if the second time when it says, surely you will perish, in verse 20, it's only said once. That is only one type of perishing, and that's the world to come, meaning they will get their reward in this world, but they will not see any reward at all in the world to come. So someone who does not fulfill what we call the Eikev, which is hinted at and means the Chukim, because there is no benefit that is revealed in this world, even for a moment, so then most likely even that which he fulfills from any of the mitzvahs, he doesn't really fulfill them except to derive benefit from this world. He's like a goy. He's like a non-Jew who Hashem will destroy both the world to come and this world. And that's why it says, "Mishalim l'sonav el panav la'avidu." In the beginning of the verse, it says, the beginning of verse 20, as the nations of the Lord. One second. I'm sorry. Go back to our verse 10, and it says he repays his enemies in his lifetime. I think that's where it. Let's look in Hebrew. Yeah, it's verse 10. He repays his enemies in his lifetime to make him perish, which means from the world to come. Okay, I don't know if I'm getting you any more confused, or we'll leave it at that, and we will. I mean, really, it's just 2 lines. I want to kind of sum it up. The best thing we can do when we fulfill Eikev, when we fulfill these hukim, these mitzvahs that do not have any obvious reward in this world, that we are going to receive that reward in the world to come. Now, there is a certain aspect of a benefit in this world. We will be blessed. We will be blessed for keeping him in this world. I'd rather just read the words. Okay, when we says Eikev lo tishma'un, these hukim, because what it says over there in that verse, when I say that verse, I'm going back to in Deuteronomy 8. It's not. I don't know why I didn't write down the verse.
The one we were at before?
I didn't write. No. It's not. I don't think I gave you the verse for this, but it's somewhere near the end of Parshas Eikev. I don't have the verse in front of me, but it says Eikev lo toshmanu. In other words, because you did not listen, right? Then we have all of the curses. Because you didn't listen to these mitzvahs that are in the word Eikev, then it infers that someone who fulfills that which we already established is hinted at in the word Eikev, he will eat, he will consume the fruits in this world, but the main reward will be guarded for him in the world to come. So the only thing I'm missing is where it says Eikev lo tishma'un, which I know is in our parsha towards the end. And I'll tell you where it is, because just give me a second.
Oh, 8:11. Be careful not to forget Hashem, your God, by not obeying His mitzvot. Otherwise, after you have eaten and are satisfied, find houses.
Yeah, but it
Then he
doesn't
goes
have
through
those
the negative.
exact words. I'm looking for, if you put into Google the words Eikev lo tishma'un. Yeah, you have a Hebrew keypad?
I do, but not in front of me since I'm not using my computer this morning.
Okay, anyway, that's how he sums up the whole idea. That later on in the Parsha, towards the end of the Parsha, it uses those words, and we still have like some really good stuff to go through, so I don't want to get held up on that idea. But that was like to really drill home the whole idea by mentioning at the end that it says Eikev lo. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of notes, but that one note I'm missing, where it is. Eikev lo tishma'un. And so basically, because you did not listen, so then you would end up losing everything. But if you do listen, you get both. You get you get some fruits in this world, but the principle is left over for you in the world to come. And that's why the pasuk ends that God will guard for you the covenant and the kindness. Okay, and it's all related to the reward that you will end up receiving, which is really nice.
Shama shir shir chadam